BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Here we thrive, we survive!
Hey there, BRUCAST fans! You know what's up? I know what's up, we all know what's up. It's time to talk about this month's giveaway! Yes, we did it already, we're doing it again. If you want to win this awesome, beautiful sex cap, all you have to do is subscribe. If you're a subscriber, you might win it already. All you have to do is stay tuned. At the end of January 2025, we're going to announce the lucky winner. Again, this is a global, worldwide event. No matter where you are in the world, we're going to make sure to deliver this exclusive cap to you. All you have to do is subscribe right now. It's that easy. It's super easy. You guys who follow the channel, you know what's up. It's all you have to do. All right, so that's the giveaway. We have today a very special guest. His name is Dustin PolyInnovator. So Dustin PolyInnovator is an aspiring polymath and creator of PolyInnovator, exploring diverse fields through his Polymath PolyCast. With expertise in podcasting and innovation, he's a dynamic and engaging guest. All right, Dustin, how are you doing?
Good, you? There's a lot of polys in that intro.
You asked me to change your name.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting too because I have my business, my personal brand, PolyInnovator LLC, but then I also have my Polymath PolyCast, which is another couple different polys there.
It's perfect. Polymath PolyCast. It's easy to remember, like the Marvel characters. They're like Bruce Banner, Peter Parker. It's like they have this repetition that makes something, I don't know, magical.
That was part of it. Yeah, the alliteration of it, like Bruce Banner to Polymath PolyCast. Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. So I think I know what polymath is, but you correct me if I'm wrong. Is someone who is extremely interested and proficient in several subjects or diverse fields. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on the right track. I think the more specified answer would be like multi-expert, because what you could describe is more akin to a generalist, I would say, like level-wise. But a polymath has done it for longer. They're multi-experts, like 3 or more areas, if you will. But the curiosity angle is very important too.
All right. So, but you would say that you have like 3 main things that you specialize on.
Yeah, and I often call myself, maybe just to avoid any ego controversy, but I call myself a proto-polymath, so I can kind of tell people I'm on the journey of it. I'm on the journey of it,
A what? Poly?
Proto, like, prototype, proto.
Oh, all right.
Proto-polymath.
All right, so like constantly getting better at it.
Yeah, and people have called me a polymath, and that's probably completely fair to say. I mean, I've taught swimming for over a decade. I've done content for over a decade. I definitely consider myself an expert in both of those fields. I've been building computers since I was 10, so I'm definitely well-versed in technology too, and I even keep up with the CES Consumer Electronics Show every year to see what new products are coming out. So technology is something I'm very well-versed in, but to say that I'm a multi-expert, I feel like the other expertise that I have are still too low to say that I'm like an expert into it, if you will.
So
maybe I'm just being modest, but I don't know.
maybe. So technology is one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good one. I mean, 2025, like AI is taking over. Like we need people like you to hopefully not lead us to Terminator style future. Have you seen I'm so creeped out by that. You just mentioned CES. I just saw one thing from CES, and I'm just like, no, fuck no, I'm out of here. It's like this robot. It's a vacuum robot. Like you know what I'm talking about. Like it
Yeah,
goes
little
around.
Roombas. Yeah.
The Roombas, yeah, but it like with a robotic arm. There's like a claw. It comes out and catch stuff in your living room. Like, dude, like how many iterations until someone dies from it? Like probably iteration number 1.
If you think that's scary, then I'm glad you haven't seen the rest of the stuff that's from CES this year.
Wow, what's
There's a
happening?
full-on animatronic robot. I'm pretty sure Sexbot, to be honest. I don't know exactly what they're doing for it, but there's actually a full-on robot that they're talking about. I wanted to bring this up too because like I had this on my desk. It's like a little mini PC. Like this right here is a full-fledged computer.
Oh, okay, nice way of changing the subject. I was curious
Yes.
about the sex robot.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
But I think people can explore that. So what about this tiny computer? It looks like a USB drive. Like
It looks, yeah, it's just like a tiny little drive, but it's essentially a full-fledged Windows computer. And I just thought it would be more interesting than some of the topics of CES because it has a little HDMI cable. You have a little USB cable, and you plug in your mouse and keyboard to it, and boom, you're ready to go. And I installed Linux on there, so it would be a little bit more efficient. But I thought I'd bring it up because it brings up an interesting idea. Technology is getting smaller and smaller. We're able to do more and more with it. What I wanted to do is maybe have like a server on there. So you know how you have like a Google Nest and Amazon Alexa, these home assistants, right?
yeah.
There is an open source version of that you can get, and you could have your own little home assistant using AI locally in your computer, so you don't have to send things to the cloud and worry about data privacy and all that jazz. And I thought about using a little computer like that to just organize my own little home AI project and maybe build my own Jarvis down the line if I can have the skills for that.
Is that possible? Because the way I understand it, those like Siri or ChatGPT, like they rely on the cloud. They need to talk to a server in order to be that smart. Is it possible to have it in a tiny computer like that?
The computer, maybe not so much because that computer is not as powerful, but that computer could be the point of entry to talk to those servers if you want to do that. But there's actually open source models called like Ollama that you can basically replace ChatGPT with. They're open source, meaning you don't have to send things to the cloud. You can download them to your computer. And for my actual main computer or your main computer, you could probably run them just fine. Might be a little bit slow, but usually you have a pretty strong computer in the cloud. But there's plenty of computers that are coming out now that are the size of like little Lunchables that have enough power to run those AI models, which is crazy. Like the size of, oops,
You
the
dropped
size of this,
something.
for example. Yeah.
So what is that for those who are just listening? You just grab something of the size of what?
It's just a case that I put the computer in.
All right. So you actually
Yeah.
you actually use it.
Yeah. I don't have the AI model on my computer right now, but I'm just talking about it because it's one of those things where I'm looking at and doing, and I've messed with them on my main computer before, but yeah.
All right, man. That's crazy. Like USB type level of computer that with Jarvis inside. Gosh. So you got that at CES?
It's all theoretical.
It's all
No, it's all theoretical at this point because, like, technically speaking, that little computer's probably not strong enough for it. But I could probably do some other stuff with it to link to those different AIs. I don't want to get too much on the tangent here per se, but I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about. This was at CES a handful of years ago, but that was not something I got there. I actually got it online recently, but yeah.
It's
I
totally
digress.
no, that's okay. That's totally something that I would imagine coming out of CES. Dude, another thing that I saw at CES, it's also completely creeped me out. Is like I think it's from Samsung. They have like a screen. It's like a TV, but it's a bendable TV. Okay, we know that already. But what they were promoting is like kind of like a 3D TV. So I think the demo they had was like, I don't know, like there was like a strawberry in the middle, and the strawberry was poking out. You know what? Have you seen that one?
Yeah, it's like I think I saw it on the wall or something like that, and so you could like look around and you could actually see the strawberry from multiple angles and stuff like that. It's weird.
It's super weird, man. Like, in what world is this useful? Maybe for ads, right? The first thing that
Yeah.
my mind goes to is like people using that in the subway to promote strawberries, whatever.
Yeah, or smoothies or whatever. Yeah.
His movies, okay, dude. So that's it. That's what I know from CS this year. I don't know anything else. Have you seen any other creep stuff other than the sex robot?
I don't know about creepy, but I do think it's really cool. There's a rise of smart glasses. So
What?
Google Glass was a thing back in like 2011 or whatnot, or 2013, something like that.
Those
And
like smart glasses, like on your
yeah,
face. Okay.
and in the recent years, the only things that really have come out are the Meta Ray-Bans, where you could do like live streaming from the glasses and take pictures and short clips. But that was all you could really do with it. Now you can be like, "Hey Meta, what am I looking at?" And then it'll actually tell you through AI analysis, like, "Here's what you're looking at," which is pretty crazy. And then there's been these Bluetooth just stun glasses where they're like basically Bluetooth headphones, but that's still pretty cool. You can listen to a podcast while you're looking like you're not actually having headphones. So if you're working somewhere, it's kind of cool. But now we're getting even more AI enhanced glasses that will just give you so many different features. So you basically have ChatGPT, but on your eyes right there.
Wow.
And the use cases, I'm still trying to imagine what would be the case, but I'm sure there's plenty of them. Like one of them was having an augmented reality GPS. So you're walking somewhere and it tells you when to turn and stuff like that. Like you had a GPS on your dashboard, but it's on your eyes.
Wow. Dude, that's amazing because we rely so much on our vision, right? We as humans, I think it's our primary way of interact. I don't know how to say. Perceiving the world, right? Is first and foremost the vision, I would say, unless you have some type of disability. But have you seen this movie called Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
So, Scarlett Johansson, I think, too.
Yeah, dude, doesn't it feel like it a little bit? Like we take inspiration from that?
I would say so.
Wow. It was like, I don't want to spoil the movie for those who haven't watched it, but it's a good one. It's worth it, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, it's like it totally feels like a Black Mirror episode. I think this came before Black Mirror, right?
Yeah, I think so. There's also Ex Machina, which is even better too.
That's a mind-blowing one. When I saw it for the first time, I was like flabbergasted. Like it's like it's a sci-fi. Would you say it's horror? I don't think it's horror.
I don't think it's horror. I think it's just a matter of just surprising.
Yeah. Dude, we covered the robot. We're covering the smart glasses. Like, we're living a Black Mirror. This is reality. I'm sorry. I'm so pessimist about it. So depressing about it.
Bit of a meta question here. Are we still sharing screen or are we doing side by side right now?
Oh, so the way I have set up is when I talk, the camera's on me, and then when you talk, the camera's on you. Why?
Nice. I haven't used Video Ninja very much, so I'm just curious about it. Yeah.
All right, so what did you use? Because for those who don't know, you have a podcast, right?
Yeah, I have two actually. Well, technically three if you want to count it. Yeah. So I use a variety of tools. I don't want to call out the main one I use because I've had a love-hate relationship with it, but I mainly use Riverside because it's the most stable of them all, which is ironic because I've known a lot of people who have had bad stability with it.
I need to pay for it.
I used to be partnered with them, and so they gave me access to it. But then there's other tools like Podcastle and Wave Room that have their own pricing models. There's Squadcast got bought out by Descript in recent years, and now Descript is actually making a new tool called Descript Rooms, and it's going to replace Squadcast, and I'm really curious about that one. But there's so many different tools, and they all have their kind of benefits and cons as well, pros and cons.
Could you elaborate on that? Because I mean, for me, as long as it's streaming and it's in high quality, it's good enough, right? What else what other perks would they offer?
So for one, I know the Video Ninja has a bit of a complicated setup, especially since you use OBS with it. I do think it's nice though, because I believe it's free and that's really useful. But given how convoluted OBS can be, that could be a thing. You might be able to use like Streamlabs or Meld Studio, which are easier setup, and then just use Video Ninja as a web input or something like that, I think. But regardless, using a tool on your computer like that can be kind of difficult for some people. And so the simplicity of these tools for some podcasters is very important. Then tools like Riverside and StreamYard have live streaming capabilities. I believe we're live streaming right now, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
I just think that it's important to note that like some podcasters live stream, some don't. I like to not live stream so I can have a little bit more control over the edit. But I also do need to get better at live streaming. I'm not always very comfortable on camera when it's live. When it's pre-recorded, I'm fine. I can just edit it out, or even for some reason, I'm just less nervous. But today, this doesn't feel anything different. I'm getting more and more used to it. But a lot of creators aren't used to it, and that was my point.
Well, the secret's just when you are afraid of jumping like a cold water, At the swimming pool, there's no thinking about it. You just go and jump, and after you are in the water, like you don't even think about it anymore. You're just, okay, that's my life now. Like at the beginning, I remember when I started doing it, I was like self-conscious the whole time. Like, oh my God, there's like 2 people watching. Is there something wrong with my hair? No, like, dude, you need to forget about it. It's like there's always a bad hair day. There's always like words that don't come out well enough. It's just like we're human, right?
It's just with practice, though.
Yeah.
Like the more you get used to it, the more you stop saying or I actually had a before I have people on my show, I have a little list of things I go over, like, hey, do you need to run to the bathroom or grab a drink of water, which is actually super important. Like it's come in handy a lot of the time. I had a CEO who came on who had been in back-to-back Zoom meetings all day. He had no chance to get anything done, like for himself, and so he took 5 minutes of the call to go do that. But it made him way more relaxed when it came to actually recording something. And the other thing I was going to mention too is like I sometimes mention to my guests, hey, it's helpful if you don't say or please just be mindful about it. Sometimes by saying that, it makes them more self-conscious and then they say it more. So I don't always say it, but in some cases it helps a lot.
Yeah. You know, I at the beginning used to do that. It was like, dude, it's live, so have water. Like I was like kind of babysitting them, and I just realized, at least the way I did it, like they would just get more nervous, more and more nervous. Like, and then I thought to myself, I'm not good at that. I was just do my thing, and if they happen to ask if it's live, I tell them it's live. I mean, you were coming to my show. I ask a bunch of times, do you have any questions? Look at my YouTube channel. And
the first thing I usually say too, by the way, is like, hey, we're not recording right now. And so that makes a huge difference. So like when they first come into the call, like when you're first just kind of doing that pre-show chat, it just makes a huge difference. Like they can take a second to breathe, and then when you start recording, then they can get kind of in that mindset.
Oh, that's a good one, but we're not recording. That's because then they get already like things going, right? They just act more natural. That's a good one. Something that I noticed, I listen a lot to Joe Rogan, right? That's a huge inspiration of mine. Sometimes I think he changed like the way he started his podcast a couple of times, but if
He's done it for so long, yeah.
He's doing it for so long, but I think like the way he's doing right now is just kind of like you said, he has Jamie, right? He has like his assistant, which makes a huge difference. He doesn't need to do anything. He's just him. Like he's just himself, and he's having a great time. And I think he does exactly what that's assumption that I have. He does exactly what he suggests. He just say, we're not recording. And then they start chatting. And at some point, Jamie just like, look.
Yeah, just like starts saying record. That's a lot more natural too. And I will say, Joe Rogan breaks a lot of podcasting quote unquote rules,
really,
if you will. And it's not necessarily, I mean, first off, he goes for as long as possible. And so like his episodes go like 3 or 4 hours sometimes. And that's kind of like one of the rules that people break. Like you don't generally go past like 90 minutes or even an hour. Even an hour is kind of pushing it. And most of my episodes are 60 to 90 minutes. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I definitely agree with him when it comes to go for as long as the show feels good. Like if we keep talking and we enjoy it, let's keep going. There's no point in ending it sooner. I don't think that keeping a consistent length is that important. What matters is making good content. And if you make good content that's 40 minutes long and the next episode's 120 minutes long, that's okay.
And he's so good at it. It's like he just has like this way of getting to know people. It's amazing. Like it's inspiring, and it's not it doesn't feel forced, right? It's really cool. At the beginning, I was like, I'm Joe Rogan, like episode number 5. Yeah. I was like trying to push like 2 hours, 3 hours, but at some point I was like, I don't know what to say anymore. And they just started like coming up with random subjects with the guests. It felt so weird. But bro, I gotta be honest. Some people also make it so hard. Like I won't mention names, but some of like one of the guests like just, hi, my name is I was like, oh, that's very interesting. What do you do for a living? He's like, and then he would like flip through his book, and then like he was just reading his script. And then I think after 30 minutes or 40 minutes, like there was no more script on his end. And I would just continue the conversation, because I was genuinely interested in knowing the person. And he would just answer, yes, no, because he didn't know what to say anymore. Like,
it is, yeah. Sometimes I always try to make sure my guests don't prepare answers. I always send the link to the meeting and the questions about a day before, maybe half a day before, depending on their time zone and stuff like that. And that way they can at least read the questions. But I try to mention, like, don't prepare answers. This is just for like, because the thing is, some people have NDAs, so they can't talk about certain things, or maybe they don't. They have a pretty bad experience with something, and there's a topic that's taboo for them to talk about. And sometimes it's actually some of the most fun things to talk about, and it gets them open up to it. But you have to build that rapport first before you can get into something deep that they might be hesitant about. And then the other thing is, like, as a host, you got to think about the perspective. And so even just like the camera, like before the call, I was adjusting my desk to make sure the framing of me was good for your show. I saw one podcast recently where the guest camera was cut off right here in the middle of the face
Oh no.
when they were switching back and forth.
Oh
And I was like,
no.
and that's all just positioning. Where like if the host just told the person to move over a little bit, then it would have been fine.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
camera.
yeah. You get good over time. So, Dustin, what's your podcast name? Oh, it's Polymath PolyCast.
Yeah, the Polymath PolyCast. It's about people who are multidisciplinary. I have some solo episodes that talk about a variety of different topics. That's kind of the whole idea of the poly. Many topics, many types of guests, and then many different series that I do on there as well. And then I have the PolyTools Creator Spotlight, where I interview modern content creators about their journeys. And then I have this new show that I've done with a buddy of mine called The Brand Doctors, and we talk about branding and content creation.
Whoa, that's mind blowing. Dude, you have 3 podcasts. Like, I have one, I can barely manage it. There's so much work. How do you do it?
Well, that's literally what my channels are about. So the first channel is about knowledge management for polymaths and organizing your multidisciplinary life. Well, knowledge management includes project and task management as well. And so I have a pretty refined system at organizing all my people and ideas. And I actually, you make templates too, so that helps keep the process consistent. So like I said, those pre-show mentions, that's part of my template. Then I just delete it once I say it to my guest. And then below that, I have like the intro. Then I have the space for the questions. I have a space for links. I have a space for emails. So I have these pre-emails and post-emails that I have basically a template for. That way I can just copy and paste, edit the information for this name. Here's the links. Boom. It just makes things a lot more efficient in the process.
Yeah, but you need to send all of those templates all the time for the 3 shows. Like, this is time consuming, right?
Not necessarily. So the first show has solo and interviews. So half the episodes are solo. So I don't need to send anything out. And then the interviews, actually, I do a ton of research for the Polymathy guests because they have so much to offer with being multidisciplined that I have to know what those disciplines are. So I have to do a ton of research for that show. The creator show, I still do a decent amount of research because I like doing it. But I don't necessarily need to because the questions that I want to be answered, I'm going to be asking on the call itself. And then the other show is something that's basically off the cuff, so I don't have to do much preparation for.
Off the cuff, that's the first time I hear this.
It's a phrase where it's like kind of what you do, where we're just kind of spouting off a simple conversation, right?
Okay.
We don't need to have preparation per se because what's going to happen in the show is what matters. Sometimes we'll come up with a topic, and you as the host probably have a list of a few topics you want to ask me. And so it's like you have a little bit of preparation, but you have an idea of what you want to go into, but you don't have an actual outline per se.
For how long have you been doing podcasts?
It has been about 7-8 years. I started in like 2017, 2018-ish. And I started doing my creator show about a year ago. So it's relatively new. And this brand partner show, only a couple, brand doctors, not brand partners, brand doctor show, a couple years, or a couple months, I mean, actually.
I'm sorry. 1 second, guys.
That's why I muted. I coughed too earlier, but I muted myself and made it look like I wasn't coughing because I had my hand over my mouth.
Yeah, there you go. 7-8 years of experience. There you go. Teach me, sensei.
Yes, I got you.
All right. So I need to ask, like, you told at one point that you interview CEOs.
Yeah.
Like, could you share some of your stories? Like, some things that did you learn with, like, all of those amazing guests?
I had guests from all different levels of the spectrum, whether CEOs, entrepreneurs, not even in the business world at all. Some of them have been physicists. Some of them have been ballerinas. And so it really doesn't matter what you do as long as you embody that polymathic lifestyle.
Right.
And there are certain levels to polymathy. So some people who have done research into polymathy, they talk about the creative polymath. So people who are more artistic and do more visualized stuff, but they're not necessarily like science-based. And then there's the more like hard polymaths that are science-based, physics and contributing to science and stuff like that. And then most people, polymathic people are both in a way that I've seen, in my opinion. But the creative polymaths might be like, oh, they're an artist, they're a sculptor, they're also something else, a content creator. And so it's all creative, but that's about it. Some of the interesting stories that I've heard from them is how they've managed their lives, and then over the years being told that they should be just doing one thing. They're told over and over and over again that they need to be doing just one thing, niche down, niche down. But in their hearts, they knew that they needed to be doing at least 2 or 3. And so like a good example is Dr. Merritt Moore, who is a quantum physicist but professional ballerina, and she's working on learning robotics right now. Like, which is a pretty disparate pool of stuff.
Ballerina? What else? Robotics?
So, quantum physicist, ballerina, and robotics.
But you know what? I think that's healthy because when you focus just one thing for a long period of time, what's the word that I'm looking for? You become
stale.
No. That's not stale because that's kind of it sounds very negative, right? I would say unidimensional. Like you don't you're not necessarily boring, but your worldview can not necessarily can get a little bit narrowed, and then if you introduce a little bit of ballerina in there, like just a little bit of a completely new perspective, and more often than not, new perspectives is what allows you to improve in several domains of life. Like you need those different inputs, you need different perspectives. Like there you go. I'm gonna take a biology example, like the Komodo dragon. I just completely learned that out of the blue the other day. Like the Komodo dragons, they if they don't have like genes from other Komodo dragons from other groups, like they don't evolve. They need to have like this diversity of genes. I think not only Komodo dragons, like a lot of species are like that. And why I'm saying that, it's like going back to the ballerina. Like if you have like random, I don't think that's tied up. I don't think that was a very good analogy. But if you know what I mean, right? You need like different stuff in order to grow.
The Komodo dragon needs multiple different DNA pools to pull from in order to be able to evolve into the next step. And the idea too is that a lot of people think about disciplines like digging a trench, digging a hole. And if you dig your hole too deep, you get too specialized, then you can no longer see past the ground. You can't see over to the next hole over. When you're polymathic, you have dug multiple holes. And being polymathic and being a polymath are technically different levels. Like being polymathic is essentially just doing many different things and being curious. But being a polymath means you have multiple deep holes, like 3 or more deep holes. But since you have multiple holes, you have connections between them. So you're able to move between the different trenches, if that makes sense.
Yes.
A better analogy is like a tree. So if you have a discipline that you have the roots out, but then you start building up that trunk, that narrow specialization. But as you get more specialized, you're going to branch out more, because when you start to get an expert in chemistry, you might have to learn a bit of biology to advance farther into chemistry. You might have to learn a little bit of physics, maybe even a little bit of arts to understand chemistry in a new way. And so you start branching out, and eventually you have multiple trees, and you can jump between the different trees because the branches are connecting together.
Oh my god, I feel so ashamed with the Komodo dragon shit.
Yeah, that's good. It's fine.
That's so much better.
It's okay, I'm professional.
You're a pro, of course. I had Gary Simmons the other day on the podcast. He's a neurosurgeon, and he's also like a pro at what he do. But he said, like, Bruno, like a few times during the week, I need to just stop it and play the guitar, do a completely different thing. And it's just like resets, like it just brings me back to reality a bit. I think people need that, no matter what.
I need to interview him.
Dude, it's amazing. It's my top most viewed episode on the channel ever. But I love talking to the guys. This guy, he's amazing. It was so interesting. I totally recommend it.
One of my top interviews was actually a quantum computing expert, and I've had a few guests on the show that talk about quantum computing, which is interesting. I still don't know enough about it to talk about it myself much, but it is interesting this as a topic, seeing these experts, and it is really nice to talk to someone who's smarter than you and learn from them and see how they can break things down too.
So what do you learn from quantum computers?
Well, the fact that, for one, computers work on a binary system, zeros and ones, and yes or no's. quantum computing works on a 3-bit system. So you have zeros and ones, and then both. And so that's the third one, is both. It's like it's either or, Schrodinger's cat, if you will. And so it makes things 10 times more complicated, but in doing so, it makes it 10 times more powerful, because more powerful calculations can happen in a similar time frame. And so, yeah. I mean, granted, some of these articles get a little bit like overzealous about it. So it's the same way they talk about AI, but yeah, quantum computers can be like infinitely more faster, essentially.
So Reddit, Google's new quantum computer. Oh, 1 second, I'm sharing the screen. There we go. So Google's new quantum computer is 241 million times faster. Well, they need that to render those new Pixar movies because they take forever. So,
and the other thing I learned is that oftentimes too, they're not really used for the same use case though. So yes, these quantum computers are, X number amount faster, but the reasons why you would use them are for different types of calculations. You wouldn't be putting the same apps that you do on a, Intel or AMD CPU than you would be with a quantum CPU. So it's very interesting.
So maybe
they're more like advanced calculations, like pharmaceuticals, or maybe planetary alignment, like just more bigger picture things. The Pixar stuff might be a use case. I'm not sure, but that's. Yeah.
I mean, they managed. I mean, they made
rendering.
They made so many good movies with the current technology. I know like what the reason why I said that. I remember was watching this The Incredibles behind the scene. Like they use 200 computers to render. I'm just like guessing random numbers here, right? 200 computers in order to render 1 second of the movie, but that was a long time ago. Like, but as far as I know, like to this day, like those big studios, they still, because the renders of the movies, they got better, right? The lighting got better, everything got better. So,
just a counterpoint to that, though, we don't need quantum computers for those movies. The Incredibles came out in the 2000s, so we needed 200 computers to render that many frames for that higher resolution that they were trying to develop in. However, just over the past 5 years, let alone 10 years, computers have increased dramatically in speed and performance. Just RAM and SSDs alone, which are basically the short-term memory and long-term memory in the computers, they have gotten significantly faster. When I built my last computer, which I built in 2017, my RAM was probably in the 2000s, like 2800 megahertz. And I won't get too into the weeds about tech if you guys don't need it, but the idea is that was a certain speed. My current computer now runs at like 6,000 megahertz and on the RAM, and I have double the amount of RAM too, because for the same price I could get more RAM and higher speed. And so it's interesting to think about how just the speed of my short-term memory is now twice as fast, and I have twice as much of it. And my computer itself, the rest of it, the brain and the graphics and all that jazz, are 7 times newer, and the gigahertz of the CPU is like twice as much as well. So it's crazy to think, oh, maybe not twice as much, but more like 1.5 times as much. But it's crazy just how much faster they're getting. And this is a tiny little computer. My computer is just barely bigger than this little box that I'm holding up. My main computer, mind you.
Do you use all of that power? Because my assumption is that most people, like, we reach a point where most people don't need all that what the computers offer,
Yeah, I think that there is a matter of I am a gamer, so I do use the power in that regard too. And then even rendering with DaVinci Resolve is one of those things where, yes, I had to use a lot of power. And so, yes, and you don't necessarily need to use the full capacity of the computer. What matters is how much are you wanting to use, and then trying to double that. So a good rule of thumb in computer building, for example, is that if you need 500 watts to run your computer, and that's just how much energy you need to run the computer, it's all the parts demand that much, then it's wise to get 1,000-watt PS power supply, because then you're only going to be running it at 50% capacity, meaning that power supply will last a lot longer. So I have 64 gigs of RAM. That's great. I might only use 30 to 40 gigs, but that means that it's going to last a little bit longer because I'm not using it at full capacity all the time.
And that's
future-proofing.
That's future-proofing, exactly. And that's why I have a PlayStation.
And I have an Xbox, but hey, we still need both.
Do you game on both? Because I know like some people they're exclusively gaming just either on PC or the console. So what's your philosophy, Dusty?
I like relaxing, and sometimes there's a weird difference where it's like on PC I can do a lot more and you can mod your games, and so I'm actually gonna have a weird dichotomy about that right now internally. But I like sitting down on the couch and just playing a game on the TV. It's really nice. And so that dichotomy that I mentioned is like Skyrim, for example. I love playing Skyrim on the couch and just or Fallout or whatever, even Witcher and Cyberpunk and all these like fun single player games. The problem is with that, Brew, is that those games are meant to be modded. Like they're basically blank canvases. They're vanilla ice cream that you can then put seasoning on, or not seasoning, wow, sprinkles on and stuff like that. And that's the thing. Like you're meant to mod them to hell and back, and you can technically do it with like Skyrim and Fallout, but you only have maybe 10% of mods on the consoles versus on the computer. And so I need to be able to play computer Skyrim in order to really get the full experience. So I was like,
Man, such a good game. I remember when it came out. It came out like
2011.
2011, 2012.
11, I think is what it was, something like that.
Dude, I play, I think, 3 times. I even bought the Switch version. Such an epic game. It's fun. Like the game
but
works.
But take that with you and whatnot. Yeah.
my grandpa, he's an avid gamer. He's the one who got introduced me into gaming. To this day, I cannot believe he I think he's retired, right? So he has all the time in the world. He collect all of those fucking collectibles. What was it again? Like a shard or I don't know, a medallion. There was a collectible in Skyrim, and you had to collect all.
Oh, the little purple pink things.
I think so. What was it again? Yeah. Oh my god.
There's like 40 of these little crystals that turn into a crown if you collect them all, but there's no map icons for them, and so yeah.
Exactly. So collectibles is Skyrim in game.
Just like crystals. Type in crystals.
The crystals, exactly. Yeah. The Skyrim Nexus. There's no map. There's no hint. They're just like.
So actually, right there, that's a mod that helps you find them, because in the main game. There's no icons on the map for them, so they don't tell you where they are. That mod probably does add those in, so that way you could quickly find them.
Where's that?
So that's another reason. The first link, the one you pointed out to, collectibles helper, and so it probably actually helps you find those crystals.
Oh, come on, that's cheating. Come on, guys.
That's why people don't use it. But like, if you wanted to, you can. And that's the whole point. You could build out Skyrim the way you want to. There's one mod that I can't play the game without anymore.
Really?
And you'd be surprised to see what it is.
Which one?
It's not something you would think that would be that important. But now playing games ever since Skyrim that have this built in, I can't play Skyrim without it. It's footprints in the snow.
Footprint? No, come on, you're joking. Is that?
It makes such a big difference, because when you're walking around the snow and you look behind you and there's no footprints, it breaks immersion.
Footprints, Skyrim. Oh my god, no, come on, really?
Makes a big difference when you're playing it. Those kind of immersion mods are what I always really liked.
All right, I mean.
So, what kind of questions you got for me here, Bruno?
About Skyrim. No, let's go back. So, we were talking about your polyinnovation skills. So, we talked about you. Good, dude. 1 second. Let me rewind. You said you have like 3 main themes that you are like a pro at. One of them is tech. The second one is Skyrim mods. Of course, no, I'm joking. Which one are the other 2?
So swimming is probably one of my main ones, in fitness. Like swimming's the main, then fitness kind of on the side there. Because I was a personal trainer as well, but the swimming, aquatic fitness is more my expertise. And then I talk a lot about like how to be a content creator, and I've also just been a techie all my life. So those are kind of side by side. I would argue I'm an expert in tech, but I'm not necessarily niched in any particular tech field. I'm pretty generalist in tech. And then another area would be like content creation. Let's see, gaming is something I'm very well versed in. So those are like the 3 things. It's like content, swimming, and gaming is like my 3 main expertise.
Wow.
Because I've played all consoles essentially. Like I haven't really played much on the PS5, but I've played pretty much all consoles at this point.
Really?
Not Sega. Sega's boring.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're boring. It's just been so many decades since they released the console, right? What was their
2001 or something like that? I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
And it failed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if they release a new console nowadays, it would be good. Now,
Atari's making a new console, handheld console.
what?
That was something that was announced at CES.
Atari's making a comeback? I mean, they're always
think
making
so.
a coming back. Atari new console. Wow, I didn't know that. Let's take a look.
It's a handheld. Go on news. Yeah, the top right there. That little Atari thing. Yeah.
Guys.
Game
Let's
Station
reject
Go.
all of those. Atari Game Station Go handheld console will debut at CES 2025.
I'm not seeing anything, by the way. I'm still on Google. I think you only shared
Oh.
your tab.
Oh, I shared a different tab. Yeah, you're right. The guests, they can, the viewers, they can see it. There you go. Can you see it now?
Okay.
Or
Yeah. I thought. Okay. I'm just glad the viewers can see. That's what matters.
Atari Game Station Go handheld console will debut at CES 2025. Wow, man! After the Switch, all the companies they are coming after it, right? Like PlayStation, they release how it's called this thing again?
The Portal, but it's not.
Portal.
It has nothing to like. That's a streaming device though, so it doesn't really count.
What a shame! They had so much potential.
People hacked it, and it actually has a lot of capacity if it just wasn't locked into just streaming.
What the fuck is this marketing strategy? Why are you locking it into just streaming? Oh, they want. I just answered my own question. Like they want to sell more PS5s, I guess, right?
Well, you can actually now stream just from the cloud too, so probably like a membership as well.
And you need to pay a membership, and then you need to pay the subscription for the Nintendo Plus, or oh man, everything's a subscription nowadays. So, but going back to this Game Station Go, I'm a sucker for those things. They look beautiful. Like I almost buy. I'm
Probably overpriced though.
how much? Let's see how much it costs.
I don't think it has a cost yet. The problem is with it is that you can play all those games on a Steam Deck or something like that. Like they're not releasing anything new, I don't think. Just new hardware, not new games.
I mean, their games are good. Atari Game Station Go. Pricing. Let's take a look at that. I don't think it's brand new. They wouldn't.
It just got announced.
Yeah, they're not even showing
It
games.
said something. I think I saw it said $170.
Oh, really? You saw it? I was too fast. Well, doesn't matter. Let's wait until it comes out
yeah.
to take a look. But that's
It's
interesting.
not my expertise, anyways.
All right. So, one sec. One sec. I'm having troubles with OBS. There we go. There we go. Now we're back.
There's a tool you should look up called Meld Studio and see if you can use this with Video Ninja.
Mount Studio. What is?
It's a replacement for OBS.
Really?
That's the best way to put it, and it's more compact, if that makes sense. With OBS, you need to have a ton of plugins to make things work and have animations and stuff like that. But with Meld Studio, it's all built in. They don't have as many features, obviously, because it's still newer. But yeah, it has multi-streaming too built into it. But there's a couple plugins for OBS for multi-streaming as well.
Real. I'm gonna take a look because I have this like mindset, at least when it comes to the podcast. It's babe steps. Like I'm not necessarily.
How many episodes have you done?
I think hours, right? Like I think I did about 70, but a couple of them didn't work out, so I would say 62. Yeah.
So usually, from what I've seen, I've been a podcaster a long time, and even then, I'm still a baby compared to some other people in this space. But in 2020, I saw a huge influx. I mean, everyone saw this, but like it was a huge influx of podcasters. But one thing I noticed is that most of the podcasts did not make it past either 6 months or 60 episodes. That was the cutoff where people died out.
Why?
And so you made it past 60 episodes. I don't know. That was the data that I saw.
So it's either 6
months or
Wow.
60 episodes.
Well, if I had to guess it, I would say it's because it's super easy to get burned out by it, because it's so easy to
That's why you need systems.
it's not. I'm saying it's super easy. It's not super easy. You need to set up a few things, figure out the hardware. But once you have it, figured it out, like it's like bam, 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 and you can do as much as you want. You can do even more than one per day, and it's fun. So my assumption is that people might drop it after 60 episodes or 6 months because they're like in this burning out mode, you know.
again, it just comes down to systems. They don't have the organizational system to help them keep track of things, and so they're trying to mentally remember everything. The first thing I did when I started doing interviews is I made a CRM for each of my guests, and now I have a folder structure, but like a customer response manager CRM, like a Rolodex of people.
Oh, and how is that useful?
Well, you got to keep track of who you're talking to, right? You got to keep track of the notes, the links, and the questions that you want to ask them. Like you're a little bit more freeform, so you might not have a section for questions, but there might be a few questions you want to write down. So you need to have notes based on your guest. What happens 6 months from now, right? And you decide you want to repurpose all your old episodes. You're going through your YouTube channel trying to copy the link of each of the interviews, or you go into your database and all the links are right there. So anytime I upload a video, I copy the link and put it into my note. And that way I have access to it down the line in a much quicker fashion.
All right. Is that something that you do, like you need to use often? Or maybe not necessarily, but when you need to, it's easy to find stuff, right?
Yeah. And that was just one example. I mean, having a system in general is important. I used to use Notion, but now I use Obsidian. But that's what my niche is about. It's knowledge management tools, right? And being polymathic. And so if you're a polymath, you have multiple expertise. You have multiple specialties, meaning you have 3 different areas you need to keep track of. And so it's even more important than the specialist to keep track of everything you're doing. So having a knowledge management tool to organize all that is the reason why I do my thing.
All right. So I think that's a good plug to talk about your website, right? It's called PolyInnovator. Am I right?
Yeah, I don't think the website's the right plug. I think just me sharing my screen might be the right plug.
Oh, can you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Can you
know.
see it, or is it doubled up here?
Oh, I never did that. I'm sorry. So guys, we're gonna figure out that together. You're the first guest that asked to share the screen. Can you maybe send me the link?
There's no link. This is my personal thing.
All right. So give me a second.
You're fine. You don't have to do this, but
I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it. Can you just talk people? I mean, at the end of the day, most people are gonna listen to it. So
yeah, that's fine.
all right.
So what I shared was my OmniBrain, the Poly Innovation System that I created, the PIOS, Poly Innovation Operating System, right, or Personal Innovation Operating System, however you want to think about it. Having an OS for your life, as some people call it. Some people even kind of refer to it as a second brain, but the second brain is more geared towards specialists. I created a system that's more geared towards generalists. So I call it the OmniBrain because it just rolls off the tongue better.
Oh,
Oops.
my cat just destroyed my. It's okay. I can check that later.
Okay. And so I created my own system to organize things at the yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily levels. And that's what I talk about mostly on my YouTube channel, main YouTube channel, and the website that he mentioned earlier, polyinnovator.space. And on that website, I have a variety of different topics. I don't limit myself to just one. And so I talk about swimming. I talk about the PIOS and knowledge management, how to organize your life. I talk about polymathy, like what does it mean to be a generalist or a polymath or being multidisciplinary? How do you manage your time and that kind of lifestyle? And sometimes I'll have random topics about technology or something like that, whatever interests me that I want to share with the world. My other website, you might get a kick out of this, Bruno, is the polytools.blog website. And that is my sub-brand where I talk about how to be a modern content creator. But I made that brand because I was obsessed with tools. So I mentioned earlier Melt Studio, and there's a couple plugins for OBS for like multi-streaming or
All right, everyone.
welcome back.
Welcome back. We just had internet drop, and that's what happens when you record live. All right, so before we lost connection, let's just wrap up. You're talking about your website where people can find you. Yeah.
I am Dustin PolyInnovator. PolyInnovator is my name. If you want to look on any single social media platform, you'll find me there, except for OnlyFans, I guess, is the only place I'm not on. And then my websites are polyinnovator.space, where you can find over 640 blog posts at your disposal, including also some really interesting stuff around knowledge management and organizing your life. And then if you're a creator or someone interested in tools, I have a website directory called polytools.blog, and you can find a lot of cool stuff there.
Amazing. Dustin, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Oh my God.
Yes.
I think, okay, we're back. For a second, I thought we lost connection again. No, we're still on.
It still says on air for me, so we're good.
All right, good. So, man, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Do you have any final remarks? Anything else that you'd like to say before I say goodbye?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show, man. It was a pleasure. Everyone, thank you, everyone. Again, it was amazing. As you know, if you want to get this awesome, beautiful, sexy cap, all you have to do is subscribe. And you might get it. We're going to announce the winner at the end of the month. It's very easy to enter. All you have to do is subscribe. That's it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye. All right, so thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Yeah,
if it's your first time watching the show,
right now,
make
it's
sure
like the
to
intro.
like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BRUCAST store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a BRUCAST model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy BRUCAST. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing BRUCAST merch, or watching an episode of the show and send it to us and become part of BRUCAST. We will feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.